So far we've dealt with one good in this class. How is demand for one good figured out? What we're going to look at here is how consumers behave when they have choices between many different goods, or of course between saving, which means not spending anything at all. So if somebody has a fixed amount of money and has to buy something like pizza and pop, Oreos and milk, how do they make that decision in terms of how much of each to buy? So this is what consumers are going to do each time, and the reality is that they're not making charts and doing this kind of thing on paper, but in our heads we do go through a similar process of this. The most important thing to look at is what we call marginal utility per dollar spent, and that's this formula here. So we're basically saying how much utility do you get from the purchase of that given unit, and you divide that by the price of that unit. So that tells you how many units of utility, or how much utility you got from every dollar that you spent. The ultimate goal is to make sure that between all of the goods, the marginal utility per dollar spent is going to be equal. That means that you're getting the most for your money, if you think of it in those terms. Now there's a variety of ways to approach problems like this. I'm going to give you the most thorough way here, which is going to help you if you get stuck or if you're having some confusion with this. So this is the chart from the activity 11 in your book, and the answer key already has the marginal utility per dollar filled in. So this is something that you should have done already. Keep in mind as you fill these out, you always want to make sure you're dividing by the right price. So in this case, we're always dividing the marginal utility for gas by the price of gas, which in this case is $10 a gallon, or the amount of utility we get from food by the price of food, in this case 20. Now, when you have to figure out how much someone like Frank is going to spend with his $130 or how much of each he's going to buy, we want to follow through the steps like this. Frank is always going to put his money towards the things that provide him the most marginal utility per dollar. So at the first step, given a choice between the first gallon of gas or the first unit of food, the marginal utility per dollar is comparing 6 to 5.75. So for every dollar he spends, he's going to get more utility from the food or from the gas than he would from the food. So in decision 1, and we'll just make a chart here, we have gas, food, I'll call this the marginal cost, and then the total cost. So in round 1, Frank decides to buy the first unit of gas. He doesn't buy any food. The cost of that decision is $10, and his total cost right now is $10, and this is where we're at. Now, another thing that you might do at this point is put an X over this one so we know that he's already bought the first one. Or you might want to put a dot off to the side in case you make a mistake and want to go back. So now, Frank has a choice between the second gallon of gas or the first unit of food. Well, the marginal utility per dollar for the gas would be 550, or 5.5 units. But for food, it's 5.75. So in this case, food is the better choice. So now, in round 2, or decision 2, he buys no gas. He buys 1 unit of food. The cost of that decision is $20, which is based on the cost of food, which means his total cost is up to $30. So in this case, he has $130, so he's still got money to spend, and we'll keep going. Decision number 3, let's mark that off, is between the second gas or the second food. Gas is higher, so again, 1 gas, no food, $10 marginal cost. Now we're up to a $40 total cost. He's still got some money left. Decision 4. In this case, food makes more sense because it has a higher marginal utility per dollar than the gas. So he's going to buy a second unit of food, which will cost $20, and that brings his total spending up to $60. His 5th decision is between gas and food. He buys the third unit of gas because that's higher, spends the $10, now has a total of $70. For his 6th decision, he buys food because, again, higher marginal utility per dollar, so that's going to cost him $20. He's up to $90. Next decision, gasoline again, because it's the 4.8 is higher than 4.7. And he's up to 100. Now, the 5th decision, or the 8th decision in this sequence actually provides us with kind of an interesting scenario. What happens here is that they have the exact same marginal utility per dollar. Now, you have 2 options here. If you have enough money, you buy both, and that's what Frank can do. If you have a situation where you don't have enough money to buy both, then you would buy the one that's cheaper. But in this case, since he has enough money to buy both, he's going to buy one of each. So we have gas, food, marginal cost of this decision is going to be $30, 30 plus 20, and his total cost is up to 130, and lo and behold, Frank is out of money. So what's the optimum combination? Well, if you add up everything that you've done on each side, and we do have 7 by the way, so he ends up right here at this spot, 5 units of gas, 4 units of food. Now you might be saying, couldn't you just look and see where they're equal? And that could work. It doesn't always work, because if you look at the next step down, they're also equal here. Of course, this one wouldn't satisfy his budget constraint because he'd be spending too much money. So you can do it that way, but the method I just showed you of going step by step while taking a little bit longer is going to help you as you answer these questions and help you keep your numbers.